Jablam Hockey, folks. Of course, I'm your host, Peter Bojarinov, and you can find us on Twitter at Jablam Hockey and our own accounts at Russia98, and I am with
Conner Rowntree. You can find me at the Sport Tree.
And before we get into some stuff that we don't want to talk about, what do we have this episode? We will be team icing the Colorado Avalanche with our special guest AJ. We are going to, of course, have our season award predictions and a little look in to how the Leafs are doing so far, and then we'll recap what we did with our Saturday's picks last year. I think we'll tell you how we did, and our friendly bet, how that went. I think we know who won, and and then we will tell you a little bit of our Saturday's picks. I give you a little hint, and then we'll tweet out some of those, of course, always Friday night on our Twitter account at Jablam Hockey. All right, but first, trending now. Conner, what's going on?
Well, we got some news down in Vegas. The NHL would like to get to 32 even teams to even out both of the conferences. And the front runner is actually Houston. It's the fourth largest TV market in America without a team. And Tillman Fertitta said, I want an NHL team here by tomorrow. And then he went on later in the press conference and said, I will aggressively pursue this. While Gary Bettman isn't officially searching for their next expansion location, it looks like Houston has the front runner.
Houston, they might not have a problem. But do they have an arena? That's the main thing. Well, that's what Bettman would always question.
Yeah, well,
arena that's ready.
Yeah, well, Furtada owns the Toyota Center, and what he wants is to have that arena filled 300 nights a year, quote unquote, is what he said. So, if what he would like is a little rocket and whatever you name a Houston hockey club, the Stars are already taken. So,
again,
too far in the future to think about that, but he wants another team to make more money. So, good for him.
The problem here is though that I've already made the 32nd team in the NHL on NHL 18. So you can't take my Brampton hockey team now that's in the NHL. I've got McDavid, I've got Matthews, I've got Crosby. We are taking over the league. So
that's what? An odd $50 million on your first line after the third season? Who else you got on that team?
No.
Who's your starting goalie? That's Chad Johnson. That's who you got.
That's what I got. No, I'm dreaming. But the crazy thing is, I will write a blog about this in a bit because I just got the game. I was finishing on my season from NHL 17. Have you tried NHL 18?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's a phenomenal game.
All right. How do you like NHL 3s or whatever it's called?
Oh, that's so much fun.
Is it?
Guys going nuts?
It's ridiculous. You play 3-on-3 in the small little mini tiny arena thing that especially they're trying to do in Canada with the kids. Yeah. But you beat the team and then you have Logan. What is it? Is it called? What's his name in the mascot in Edmonton? Hunter?
Hunter the Cougar?
Hunter the Cougar. Well, why am I playing with Hunter on the ice?
I think it's a bobcat, actually, not a cougar.
Either way, he's scary looking. Yeah. And if you have him on the ice, I think players are just running away from him on the 3-on-3. It's ridiculous. You're playing with players, and you're using Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and so on and so forth in the Western Hockey League. And of course, they're rated really low. But it's just so weird and odd.
No, it's a weird dynamic. The 3-on-3 and then a weird bobcat mascot that shouldn't be a mascot. Anyway, moving forward. What do we have next year, Peter?
All right. Congratulations on the new NHL hockey team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and they've started on fire 3-0. Seriously, Conner, I expected maybe them to have 3 wins in the entire month, but they've destroyed already the NHL's expansion record of 3 straight wins to start a season.
Yeah, well, I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury stood on his head that game against Dallas. That was absolutely absurd. And James Neal doing James Neal things. 5 goals, no assists. Yeah. Good guy. He scores. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Neal with his dirtiness sometimes. But, yeah, he's doing it for Vegas. Vegas strong. Hashtag that. Good for them. I'm hoping everything, and they're helping support the city with everything that's happened there. But it's just fabulous to see a new team, and it's just what a joy to watch a new team like that playing so well. And yeah, that first game, as you were saying, I can't even recall how many saves Fleury did standing on his head.
It was at least 8.
It was a bajillion shots, and every single one was strong scoring chances.
Yeah.
All right, and then the player of the week is Alexander Ovechkin. Is he back? Is he We're going to be talking about a little bit later awards and our predictions. Is he going for the Rocket Pen? Since he already has 8 goals.
Will he? Got to tune in.
Yeah, I guess you do. But he had 3 goals at the end of the Ottawa game. I think it was the first game of the season.
Yep.
And then, of course, not including the shootout winner, 3 goals to start the next game. So technically 6 goals within 2 periods to start against the Habs. Finished the game with 4 goals. 8 goals so far, in 4 games. So could there be a 50 in 25?
He's on pace for 164 goals, so it's not out of the question, but I don't think that's going to happen. He's got to be pretty darn good to get to that point.
We'll see. All right, time for this week's Team ISO, and of course this is when we talk specifically about one specific team, and this week we are talking about the Colorado Avalanche. Our week's special guest is AJ, and he is an editor-in-chief at BSN Denver. Welcome to the show, AJ.
Thanks, guys. It's good to be here.
Cool. So they're off to a pretty good start already, 3-1-0. And before we get into a little bit of that Duchene situation, let's talk about Nail Yakupov. Are they already talking? What were they calling him? I saw trending something on Twitter about teriyaki Yakupov or something.
Yeah. So the Avalanche did these introduction videos on Twitter,
Okay.
and the one of the questions that they were asking the players was, "What's your nickname? What do they call you in the room?" And Tyson Barrie calls him Yak because everybody else, or calls him Terry because everybody else was calling him Yak or Yaki, and he called him Terry because of teriyaki. And I mean, Tyson Barrie's just a goofy guy, right?
Yeah.
And so the fan base saw the video and just took it and run with it, and so everybody's calling him Terry now. And then the media showed up one day, and we all went up and we're like, "Hey, Nail, can I talk to you?" And he says, "No, you have to call me Terry now. I'm going by Terry." So it's just kind of become like a running joke in the Avalanche fan base that he wants to go by Terry because Tyson Barrie called him that once.
Nice. So quirky, this team with the tin can and the Pepsi Center, they like to call it. I love it when somebody comes out of the penalty box and then they have the Mario power-up.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So Yakupov's playing really well. Why is he clicking right now so quickly and so early with the Avs?
Well, a lot of it is the role that they've given him. If you actually look at the ice time that he has, it's not really that significant. I think last night he only played like 13 minutes.
Oh.
So they're sheltering him a lot, but putting him next to Duchene and Kerfoot, they just pour offensive zone time into those guys, and that's what they do. That's kind of how they're utilizing that line, is that they're giving them as much offensive zone time as they can, and just letting them run wild. And right now, it's been instant chemistry with those 3 guys from the first day of training camp. They got put on a line together, and they've clicked from day one, and it just hasn't stopped.
Nice. Then his other line mate, of course, they had the Duchene situation, and I bring up my tablet here. I think Peter Forsberg was quoted saying, "If I were playing with a player that I know doesn't even want to be in the team, it's not like he is going to throw himself on the ice and block shots with his head. It is mostly difficult to have a player like that in the best team. Although he is skillful in doing his best, I would rather play with someone that wants to be there. And I would put him on the bench and trade him." That's what Peter Forsberg was quoted saying, I believe, on the Denver Post. What was Duchene's reaction to that, and what is the reaction in the Avalanche community?
Most of us have just kind of shrugged it off. Duchene's reaction was, "Okay, that's cool." He doesn't. Duchene doesn't really seem to care about a whole lot right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's very standoffish with the media. He's only focused. He'll only talk about anything going on the ice. Nothing about anything off ice, nothing about his personal life, nothing at all. It's on ice only with him with the media right now. So, which is a big change from previous years. He's always been very personable, very approachable, and now he's not interested in us at all. He's not interested in talking to us even a little bit.
Yeah. So do you feel that there is a trade still coming soon?
Soon, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't stay in Colorado. He can't.
Yeah.
There are still issues within that locker room between him and players that are there that have not magically resolved themselves. You know, there are guys that they just don't get along. They haven't for years, and everybody just needs to go their separate ways. Right now, everybody's just kind of putting their heads down and trying to make the best of an awkward situation. It's going well right now, so there's not a lot of focus on it, at least here in Denver. I know the outside world is obsessed with the Matt Duchene story, but here in Denver, it's not really a big deal for most of us.
So not too much of a big story there, but in other situations where maybe, say, in Montreal or other teams that need some offensive talent, they think maybe if they can get a player like him, he'll revert to his points per game average and be an impact player for them. All right, Connor, did you have a few prospect questions?
Yeah, AJ, with all the distractions surrounding Matt Duchene, you'd have to think it opens up opportunities for other forwards, especially centermen like Tyson Jost. Now, he's scored 2 points in his first 4 games this season. How do you see him fitting into this squad this year, and where do you see his point totals by the end of the season?
Well, his 2 points so far this year have been kind of iffy. He got the assist on Soderberg's goal in Jersey the other day, and then last night scored the second empty net goal. So you don't want to get too excited, like, 2 points in 4 games, like he's going to be, a 40 or 50 point guy. Right now, he's actually hurt as of this morning at practice. He did not practice today. We'll see about his availability tomorrow. I don't expect it'll be a long-term thing. It's probably day-to-day, so it's probably not a big deal. But right now, he's playing right wing next to JT Compher and Gabe Landeskog, and they are Colorado's shutdown line, basically. That's their defensive line. Those guys have gotten, I think, 2 ozone starts all season as a group together. So, point totals, I'm not looking for very much in the terms of points from any of those guys, except maybe Landeskog. For Tyson, I think, I would say, given that he's a rookie, given his role on the team right now, I think 30 points is probably his ceiling just for this year. We'll see what happens with the Duchene situation, and if Yakupov and Kerfoot and Andrighetto and all those guys continue to produce the way that they have, there really isn't a reason for them to make a lot of lineup changes. At some point, something will have to change. It will give. This is hockey. You guys know what it's like. Lines change all the time. Chemistry comes and goes. I expect he'll get a more prominent role as the year does go on, and he'll start to get more of an offensive zone opportunity. But as of right now, not really what they're using him for. They're letting him learn on the fly in the NHL as kind of a defensive specialist. And whatever offense they happen to produce, I think they're looking at as a bonus right now.
Well, we've talked about right now, just focusing our glance towards the future. During the summer, the Avalanche selected Cal McCarr 4th overall. He models his game after Erik Karlsson and potted an unprecedented 75 points in 54 games in the Alberta Junior Hockey League last season. This year, he'll be in the NCAA with Massachusetts Amherst. When do you see him making his NHL debut, and how do you see his point totals at the end of the season this year in the NC2A?
I'm really not sure. That UMass team is, I think they have 13 freshmen on it. So, and they're going to be playing in Hockey East, which is always one of the top conferences in NCAA. So, point totals. Me personally, I'd be happy if he had a 20-point season, just because that team is going to struggle to score goals, and it's not going to get any easier as their competition ramps up. Makar is a beast, though. I mean, I watched his first 2 games against Arizona State last week, and it's obvious that he's on a completely different level than the rest of those guys. Even Mario Ferraro, who was a second-round pick by the Sharks this year. Totally different animal. I think he's probably a one and done in college hockey this year. I can't imagine he stays for a second season unless he really hits the wall. I think he'll probably play for for Canada at the WJCs this year. There's talk of him playing for Canada at the Olympics because we don't really know what their situation looks like. If he does all those things and he continues to show the way that he has at every level he's played, he'll be in the NHL. I mean, he could realistically be in the NHL by the end of this year, because that's not a team that's going to go to the NCAA tournament. He could easily sign his ELC and get 6 to 10 games at the end of the year, as we've started seeing a lot of college guys do in the last couple seasons. So I think Cale will probably be in Denver within a year. If not by the end of this season. I know the organization, from talking to some guys that work in the front office, they are very, very excited about him and are looking forward to getting him into Denver next year if they can. So it's not going to be a long college career for Makar at all.
Cool. Hopefully it goes well for him and he can join the Avs soon then, and maybe next year then. All right, before we let you go, AJ, I know me and Connor already talked about it, I think, in the first episode, our predictions. We do have Avs at the bottom of their division. Where do you project them finishing this year?
I think it's fair to state that they're still a bottom 5 team in the NHL. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be one of the most improved teams point-wise, but I still think I have them ticketed for about a 75-point season. Mm-hmm. They're very young. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. We're going to get games like last night where they dominated Boston. We're also going to get games like what we saw in New Jersey where they were not very good against the Devils.
Yeah. Not many teams are, though. The Devils do have a lot of speed now. So
off to a quick start.
Yeah. All right, AJ, again, thank you for joining the show. What's your Twitter handle again?
It's just at AJ Haefele. It's AJ Haefele. You can also find any of the stuff that I do over at BSN Avalanche. At BSN Avalanche. That's where all my hockey work gets poured into. If you have a chance, check out the Nail Yakupov story that I wrote from the arena last night.
All right, and we will try to tweet out your handle and your article at Jablam Hockey on our Twitter account, and we'll try to post it on our episode page on jablamhockey.com. All right, AJ, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Connor, before we get into our award predictions of the season, what are you talking about, all these movies that you're watching?
I'm a movie junkie. What can I say? I like going to the movies because I got the scene card. So you spend $1, you get points. It just keeps building up. Free movies.
Free movies. You're basically you're going and seeing free movies because that's all they cost you. You're not spending any money at all.
Yeah, you go to Sport Check, buy a new nice Under Armour shirt, wear it to the gym. Don't shower after, and you get a free movie out of that. $40 for a shirt. That's like 400 scene points. That's actually half a free movie. So get on that. You should go see a movie sometime.
No, never.
Sweaty sports socks, buddy. You'll love it.
Please take your showers. I'm recording, of course, all my new favorite superhero shows. Arrow is being recorded as we record this, obviously, on Thursday. And, of course, I love the new Orville. I actually kind of like it more than the new Star Trek Discovery. Weird and shocking. And what else am I recording? Gotham. You like Gotham?
I like Gotham. That's the one show of those last ones that you named that I watched.
I think when people first tuned into Gotham, they were thinking, "Oh, Batman! He's young and this and that." No, it feels more like a cop drama, like an NYPD Blue in the Gotham era.
No, it's definitely like the evolution of the bad guy. Almost is what Gotham is based on. Like the evolution of all Batman's future future villains.
Yeah, and I love them. They're all good.
I think, although if you were to give an award for the best villain so far, I think that introduction to the Joker was pretty good.
They're all great. I love the Riddler. I like the Penguin guy. I think they're all doing a great job.
Penguin creeps me out.
Yeah, he's good.
But I'd still say the award has to go to the Joker. But speaking of awards, Peter.
Let's get into it. All right, we'll start first with the MVP, the Hart. We put a poll out on Jablam Hockey, at Jablam Hockey, on our Twitter account, of course. And, of course, it seemed more landslided to the Canadian side because Crosby only got 8% of the votes. Kane got 4% of the votes. Austin Matthews, 16%, and a landslide win for Connor McDavid to win the Hart. I think
that's fair.
Well, the thing with McDavid, obviously, he's coming off that Centennial Point campaign last season. And this year, I think he's just going to build on that. He's got all the tools around him. He's got the skill. And he should win not just the Hart, but I think the Ted Lindsay as well for the MVP voted within the NHL community because he is hands down, in my opinion, the best hockey player on the planet, or at least the most skilled to this point. So I think this year he's really going to come out and prove that he is the hands down MVP in the hockey world.
Yeah, you picked most of the main guys, and you have a little bit say for each one. I've gone and picked my top 4. McDavid, of course, I have him as my number 1. My number 2, close right behind him, is, of course, I still feel he's the best impact player overall as a player, and in that, of course, that's Sidney Crosby. My number 3, because I think he deserves the MVP the most. I mentioned this many times. He's the most valuable to his team, and that is Erik Karlsson. And my 4th, maybe a little bit far, of course, the homer pick is Austin Matthews. He's already looking good, and you know what? He's going to be a top 10 player already, I think, this year.
No, yeah, for sure. It's just the homer pick. Obviously, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, well, he's still such an impact to his team, and I think the league already, that he has to be at least in the talk.
No, he has to be in the talk, mainly because he's in Toronto, the biggest franchise in all of hockey, one of the biggest franchises in North American sports. He is the face of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's no doubt that if he's the guy to bring the Stanley Cup back to Toronto, he'll go down in that conversation as the greatest Maple Leaf of all time. He'll go down in this conversation as possibly the GOAT, depending on where his career takes him. Mm-hmm. But if he can deliver a Stanley Cup to Toronto, there's no doubt that in a few years, he'll be in that Hart running for sure. But right now, I think it's a 2-pony race between McDavid and Crosby, and I stated, I think McDavid is just going to blow up this year and show the hockey world that he is the clear MVP.
All right, let's go to the Vezina, the best goalie. I'll go with my top 4 picks. My 4th pick, of course, a lot of question marks surrounding the fast and exciting New Jersey Devils, but it's Corey Schneider. He's always been underrated, and I think that he's always should have been in the talk, at least in the top 5-6 goalies in the NHL, and maybe he can make that jump to be at least in the top 4 realm.
I think Corey Schneider is a stellar goalie. I think you're right. I think he is underrated, and I think he's been underrated in Vancouver, and nobody's really looked at him at the same after he left the fan base in Vancouver and went to a smaller fan base in New Jersey. But he's been stellar. I agree with you. But to put him in that mark of the Carey Prices, the Devin Dubnyks, the Pecorines.
You love Devin Dubnyk.
Devin Dubnyk has been a stud since he moved to Minnesota. He had poor defensive play, poor offensive defenders. He just had a terrible team when in Edmonton. He's a big guy. He proved himself on every other stage. Now he's proven himself in the NHL. I think he's a solid tender. I don't think he's Vezina worthy this year, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, the Vezina, I think it's this. I don't think Matt Murray is the best goaltender in the NHL. I think that he will win the Vezina this year, and because he's proven that he can take a team to the championship. He's done it twice now. He has the best team in hockey in front of him, which gives him the best opportunity to stop all the pucks he sees. Which, I know he's gotten off to a very slow start at the start of this year. It's save percentage below 900, but it's still the start of the season. And as the season goes on, the Penguins will prove their dominance over the Metro Division, over everyone else in hockey. And I think that will give Murray the best opportunity. If he can just step up and step past the point of being a champion into the elite goaltender conversation, then he has the best opportunity to win the Vezina, as long as there isn't another repeat of a Sergei Bobrovsky like last season, where he just was the reason why the Blue Jackets were such a dangerous threat, obviously with the .931 save percentage. So I feel like Murray has the best opportunity around him to win the Vezina, although he may not be the best goaltender in the league.
Yeah, I'm more leaning the other way, and I don't have Murray in any of my top 4. The rest of my top 3 is Carey Price, number 3. Is the back end of that Habs, and if they do make be a playoff team and go further and be a top contender, it's all because of Carey Price. And then the top 2, Sergei Bobrovsky, same thing. I'm expecting him not to be too much different than he did last year. My number 1 is still Braden Holtby. I still feel now with the changes that the team has lost in the back end and on the front end as well, he's going to look even better this year if they do end up being a top 1-2 team in that Metropolitan.
If they do, but I don't think they will. I think they've just lost too much. I think Braden Holtby is now on the declining side of his career. I know he's still in his prime, but he got off to such a hot start that it's almost like, okay, we've seen the best of him. That's at least where I'm at mentally. I'm surprised that you didn't mention Cam Talbot, because that guy, well, I mean, just with all the goaltenders you mentioned, he's on an up-and-coming team. He had the most starts in the league by almost 10 starts last year. He gets the time, and he sees the puck. He's got now a growing defensive core in front of him. Big guys that can protect him like Darnell Nurse, Oscar Klefbom, that can also move the puck out of the zone and see stretch passes, so he'll have nice goal support. So I think Cam Talbot is a name that should be mentioned in there too. But obviously, as I said, I think Murray has the best opportunity to win the Vezina this year.
Yeah. Now on Talbot, though, I don't know if Talbot himself, just when you look at him, is a top 5, 6 goalie in the NHL.
I'd put him, with the way he played, the numbers he posted in New York, from the 940-plus save percentages as a backup in his couple years in the Rangers organization, to his jump to a starter, and just the amount of workload that he took on, was still able to keep his save percentage above 920, still able to keep his goals against average at a reasonable mark. I just think he's solid, and we haven't seen the best of Cam Talbot yet, so I think he could surprise some people.
Yeah, he looked pretty good in some games in the playoffs. All right, let's move on to the Lady Byng. Of course, that's the most sportsmanlike award, and of course, as Alexander McKinley calls it, the most meaningless one. So it's basically usually relies more on points and very few penalty minutes, and that's kind of how I calculated my team. My long shot is Anze Kopitar. I don't know if he'll have enough points to be in this category, but he always has so few penalty minutes while being such a complete two-way player and being able to play well defensively, steal the puck, and not get so many penalty minutes is what intrigues me for him being a long shot to maybe win this award. What's a guy that you think, maybe not your first guy, but maybe another guy that you would recommend in terms of being a good chance to win that award?
Well, I think if not my first guy, then I would step down to say Patrice Bergeron. I think, obviously, I actually have him to win the Selke as well, but for the Lady Byng, the guy wins faceoffs, produces points, doesn't spend a lot of time in the penalty box, and is a clear-cut leader. Yeah. But my Lady Byng pick, I got to go with Ryan O'Reilly. In his 573-game NHL career, he's compiled 82 penalty minutes. On top of that, he's added 362 goals. And also entering the season, the Sabres have improved offensively, so he can get back to that more defensive role, not put himself in situations where he'll take penalties in front of the net, and he'll be able to work the puck the way he likes to. So I really think that Ryan O'Reilly will take home the Lady Byng this season.
We'll see. He's one of those guys that kind of intrigues me. You think when you look at a guy like Ryan O'Reilly, he's more of a power forward, but he really isn't, actually. He's not the power forward type. So he does make very few penalties. But again, I don't think, like I was saying about Kopitar, I don't think he'll put up enough points to maybe be in contention of the award. But my top three, I'm going to go again with Austin Matthews as my third, because I think he's going to finish top 10 in points, and he does commit so few penalties. And then my number 1 and 2, Tarasenko, the scoring machine. He'll be top in scoring.
I don't think you can give it to Tarasenko, though. With that guy's sellies, that's not very gentlemanlike. At least with the way the NHL's turning and everyone's talking about celebrations these days. Yeah. So I'll give it to you, but I don't see Tarasenko winning that particular award.
So you think he's going to get a lot of NFL fouls?
Yeah, I think. No, I don't think he'll get penalties, but I think the the voters
Yeah.
will see it as a little more. There's guys out there. Ryan O'Reilly scores a goal, skates to the bench, fist bumps with the boys. Tarasenko puts on a show, which I like. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's Lady Bing worthy.
All right, who is your? You did mention Ryan O'Reilly, and my number one has to be Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau. He's gonna again be a top 15 player this year in this season. He's a highlight reel machine, and if he tries to even make a penalty, can he actually physically do it to someone?
I don't think he could break a stick over someone if he tried. So I think that's a pretty solid pick.
Yeah, number one, in my opinion, it's an easy one for Johnny Hockey. All right, let's go best defensive forward, the Selke. Who's your number 2 or 3 type player?
Well, to be honest with you, I actually just have to shoot for number 1.
Okay.
I just said it, Patrice Bergeron, because I don't see anybody else winning this trophy. He's won this particular piece of hardware 4 out of the past 6 seasons. He won it last year. His skill in the face-off dot, his defensive zone prowess, and his two-way playmaking skill, it just makes him the logical choice.
I have Bergeron first as well, but I'm questioning now with the new NHL and the new face-off scenario, will guys that are very good at face-offs be as good this year? Will that hurt Bergeron and winning an award like this? I have Bergeron number 1 as well, but I'm questioning if he's going to be as good now with keeping your skates behind the lines and not being able to have the second chance to win the face-off as well if you do lose the face-off first face-off draw attempt.
Yeah, but still, but my grammar is terrible. The thing is, though, those rules impact everyone that's going to face-off dot. Not just him, it's going to impact the guy he's going up against, and he's still more of a veteran. Now he has been used to in his career being able to move his skates, being able to play the puck with his hand until they put the rule in a few seasons ago. But I still think he's got the experience to take home the Selke this season.
All right, same thing. I picked Bergeron, my number 1, but my 2, 3, and 4, Ryan Kessler, still so underrated. He's the guy I want to play against the least. So he's such a great defensive forward, and that's why. He's just too nasty.
Well, he's the reason why the Ducks beat the Oilers last year. He was able to shut down McDavid for the most part.
And maybe score a goal that shouldn't have counted. Yeah, sorry, Logan. All right, and then there's Jonathan Toews. I think he had an off season last year. He'll rebound. He should be nominated. And maybe another homer pick, long shot, is Nazem Kadri. I'm still not a fan of Kadri, but he improved so much last year that if he does improve even more, I think he'll be at least maybe top 10 voting for the Selke. All right, let's go quickly to the Calder. I think it's pretty obvious we both picked Clayton Keller.
Well, Clayton Keller, small, fast feet, great vision, quick hands, etc. Basically your modern NHL package. He's done well so far this young season. I think he's got the skill that will draw people in to watch his highlights, although he does play in a small market like Arizona. But yeah, Clayton Keller, the clear pick.
And then we both picked Keller. I think my second, I do like Charlie McAvoy on the Bruins. He impacted them so easily in the playoffs last year. It was amazing to see. So he's already playing top pairing basically on the Bruins. And then my 3 and 4 have to be Heischer on the Devils. But wow, are they oozing with tremendous offensive rookie skill already with, who's the guy that you picked up? What's his name?
Brad.
So he's
3
killing
goals, 4 assists.
Never even heard of him. He's playing well, and of course there's Butcher on their back end. So they've got a couple of good rookies. So are they this year's Maple Leafs?
Last year's Maple Leafs?
Last year's Maple Leafs,
I'm with you. I like what you're saying.
All right, and then my long shot maybe for a rookie chance is UC Saros. If they're going to start to rest Rinne on the Preds, Saros might get more games, and he has a potential to be a very good goaltender.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. All right, and what we do with Jablam Hockey, we like to split up the defensive award. There's the Norris, and I like to call that the best defensive defenseman. And then there's the Bobby Orr, so best offensive defenseman. Who is your favorite for the Norris, best defensive defenseman?
Best defensive defenseman, Shea Weber. He's a complete package in your own end, and he can also put the puck in the net. Offensively, too, but sticking to the defensive side, he's now had time to gel with Carey Price. Obviously, they were together over the last couple Olympic Games, and they showed great chemistry. Last year, they had their first full season together. So I think that chemistry between goaltender and defenseman is only going to grow, and he'll be a mean guy protecting Carey Price around that crease. So I got to give that one to Shea Weber.
Yeah, I'm going to go quickly backwards to forwards. My fourth, again, maybe a homer pick. It's Nikita Zaitsev. He's just been so good so early. We're going to talk about him in a second. But then there's Duncan Keith. He's such a good all-around defenseman from this team, of course. And then Ryan Suter, still so underrated. He eats up minutes like there's no tomorrow and does it so smoothly. And my number one pick, not a huge fan of him, but stats geeks, they love him. It's Drew Doughty. He eats up minutes easily, does well on a maybe not so great LA Kings back end, and does it fairly like any other day easily.
I think quarterbacks their power play too. I know, speaking from a defensive standpoint, but offensively, who do you have? Because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I did go with the non-obvious pick and went with Chewbacca, Brent Burns, as my number one. Because if Karlsson does miss at least 10 games to start the season and maybe a few down the line, he won't be the obvious choice. Nope. It would be, in my view, maybe Brent Burns. Yeah. I don't know, he looks huge on the ice, but he skates like almost Johnny Hockey, in my opinion. His angles and his skates and his agility are one of the best.
No, his hands are the hands of a guy that should be 5'8", and he's over 6'3", so he's a big guy. But I still think, going back to Erik Karlsson, I think if he is able to come back from such a devastating injury, they removed half of his ankle bone. If he's able to come back from that and push this Senators team into a playoff position, I really don't see how he doesn't win the Norris.
Yeah.
I just don't see how you don't give it to a guy that's done that much for his team.
Yeah, Karlsson's a great pick. I got Burns and Karlsson 1 and 2 right there. And then I have Shattenkirk. I think he's going to look even better, maybe in the Rangers jersey. And my long shot, maybe Victor Hedman. It even surprised me last year how offensively gifted he can be. I thought he was more defensive, all-around defenseman, but he put up some good points. And I think he might even get better on a more offensive, better.
Yeah, I think that Hedman should be up there above your Shattenkirk pick too, because I think Hedman's an absolute beast on the back end, and obviously, you can put the puck in the net. His stats speak for themselves.
I think we both have for the Ross the obvious choice, Connor McDavid, and then for the Rocket, I'm going with the early quick pick, and I love him. It's that guy over there. It's Alexander Ovechkin. 8 goals already.
I mean, it's hard to argue, but I think Ovi is going to slow down like he always does. He'll find a way to choke like he does in the playoffs. And I got to give it to Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko already has 3 goals in 4 games, and he's playing with a team that has almost no centerman. They had to trade for Braden Shen in the offseason just so they could get his centerman. He's been playing with Shen, yes, but when that depth returns at centerman, when their team slowly forms back together, he's only going to get better, and they're going to have to take, other teams are going to have to take that top pairing, maybe off Tarasenko to cover guys like Steen if they separate them. So I really think Tarasenko could mold in and get a lot of goals this year and win that trophy.
Cool. I think that's our roundup for our awards. If you want to check them out, JablamHockey.com, and we'll tweet a few of them on our Twitter at JablamHockey.
One quick last homer pick for the Jack Adams. You got to take Mikey Babcock.
Oh, do it. All right, let's get right into our Leafs look-in now that you mentioned Babcock. The Leafs look good early. A little shaky against a faster, maybe even already younger team of the Devils. But 15 goals in the first 2 games, dominating against the Blackhawks. And who did they play in the first game again? The Jets? Yeah. So that would, the defense still, I was surprised they didn't go and get a defenseman in the offseason. I really wanted them to. But again, offense is still going to get them wins. And in the first 2 games, they were that dominant. I don't think any team has ever scored that many goals in the first 2 games of a season. The Leafs haven't looked that good since 1917, 100 years ago. Wow, that's amazing. And of course, the Leafs won the Cup that year.
Well,
6 teams.
When you look at the Leafs right now, and you said it, they can score on demand. They have proved that. And one of the big things that I looked at was that game against the Rangers. They went up early, as you could tell. They were fired up. Home opener in Toronto. The whole team's matched. They had the first season. All the rookies are excited to get on the ice. The building was bumping. They went out and pounded the Rangers, up 4-1. Rangers climb back into the game, tie it up. And then in the third period, going into the third period, tie game. And somehow the Leafs were able to come out on top. Something we haven't seen from the Leafs at all. It was when the Leafs started to fall, everyone that I was with in the stands and fans, they were back to the typical Maple Leafs. No, they simply came out, rallied the troops for the third period, and went out and got the win against a gritty New York Rangers team with a lot of veterans, a lot of depth, and a good coach in Ali Vigneault. And I think that just came down to coaching. As I said, Babcock, I think, won the coaching battle in that third period. And that is just what I've noticed from the Leafs is the fact that they can win the tight games. They go out and they're competing and they can score when they need to score goals.
All right, let's talk a little bit about a few players. And the surprising one so far has got to be Nikita Zaitsev. I liked him last year. I think he's matching him a little bit more now with, I think the pairing is right now Riley and Hainsey, and then Gardner and Zaitsev. And that might work even better for a guy like Zaitsev. Now his second year in the NHL, he's finding that groove where when he needs to pinch, when he doesn't need to pinch, and it looks like he knows exactly at the right moments right now when to go into the right areas and help. So he's got 3 goals or 5 points and +7. He's one of the best in the league among all defensemen right now.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Zaitsev is lots of people in Leafs Nation were really criticizing Lou Lamoriello when they signed him for that $4 million plus contract. Well, how do you feel now? I mean, obviously it's a small dosage, but you got to trust Lou Lamoriello, Brendan Shanahan, Mike Babcock. These guys know what they're doing. That's why they're the guys getting paid the big bucks to put a team like that out on the ice. And Nikita Zaitsev is not only proving himself, but proving management right. And another guy proving management right, my surprise, is Patrick Marleau. Now, I did think Marleau would have a good impact on this team when coming over in the offseason, but I didn't think he'd put up 4 points in 4 games. Mm-hmm. He's got 2 power play points, which means he's getting involved. And I didn't know if he was going to be able to mesh with this young core, but it seems like he's already been a good presence. You can see him rallying the guys. Again, in that Rangers game, he was rallying the younger guys on the bench, telling everyone to calm down. So I really am pleasantly surprised with what Patrick Marleau has brought to the Leafs from a point production, and just happy with his overall, what he's brought to the team from a locker room perspective.
Yeah, just the few additions that they've done this year have been very good. The new backhand rookie defensemen on the Finnish side of things, right? All right, it's Kalle Rosen, and then there's the Borgman, the Borg. I like Borgman's play. A little more physical.
Little big guy. It reminds me of old Hal Gill kind of. A little smaller, but the style of play, you'll get right in your face.
And he's still kind of versatile. Yeah. It still looks like he might pinch here and there. And on the other side, then there's Kalle Rosen. I think he has maybe more potential, especially offensively. But right now, looking as good, especially against that New Jersey team that game.
Yeah, I don't think they need Rosen as much right now. I think offensively, defensively, from that they got Gardner. Zaitsev's playing out of his boots. Riley is a stud. So I think you got to go with the Boardman.
Yeah, and then Carrick's been injured, so he might solidify that deep back, top pairing, the back pairing on that core. All right, let's go on and review our Saturday's picks from last week. We went, let me check here, 8-8 last week. And I did want to mention that it's tough. It's really tough to make these picks, especially at the beginning of the season. Random things happen.
Like Colorado Avalanche, that team.
3 wins and 1 loss. The Devils, undefeated. Vegas, undefeated. St. Louis Blues, undefeated. None of these teams are expected to be a top team outside of maybe St. Louis, but with all those injuries they had. Conner, where'd you pick them?
I picked them to drop huge. I think I had them 4th in the Central this year.
So, again, this is early in the season, and random things happen, and especially at the beginning, you never know what the outcome is going to be. Teams get on fire quickly. It's going to be harder, but I think our picks will slightly get better. And I'm surprised, actually, that we evened out and went 8-8 on the first weekend.
I'm a little disappointed.
All right. So we will make, again, our new picks, and we'll tweet them out at Jablam Hockey. We'll usually try to do that by Friday night. And, again, go on our website, and we'll show you our Saturday's picks and our friendly bet. Who won friendly bet?
This guy, Peter, got me. I mean, I thought the Rangers were going to be able to calm the storm and take on that young Leaf squad at home, but clearly Mike Babcock outcoached me, too.
All right, and then, so I won that bet, and we will talk about it in our next friendly bet in 2 weeks, maybe. What happens when you lose? You lost the first one, so we'll see what happens when you do lose.
I'm scared.
He is scared. For the picks for this Saturday, what's one game that you're thinking about for a team winning?
Well, I got the Chicago Blackhawk jersey on for a reason. The Hawks are 3-0-1. They host the division rival Nashville Predators, who are just 1-2 at this point of the season. So on home ice, I like a surging Blackhawks team to put a good dent into the Predators on Saturday night.
I'm going with the Avalanche. We talked with AJ. The team's playing really well right now, so I'm just going to go with the Surge. I believe they're playing against the Dallas Stars.
They are going against the Stars, who are off to a bit of a slow start, 1-2. So
I'm going to go with a bit of that. They're on fire right now, so I'm expecting maybe the Avalanche to win. All right. Before we leave, I'm going to start doing a few thank yous, and my first thank you for this season is for my buddy Paul Zwambag. Again, his Twitter account @Zwambag. He's doing now the Dauber Hockey Show. He's moved on. We've got a great new co-host in Conner, but Paul was a great partner. We're transitioning here still with a new show, still doing the podcast and now YouTube show, but he was great. He was especially good doing all the website stuff and editing, and it's hard to see him go, but I do want to give a big thank you to Paul. I hope you move on and do great things at Dauber. Okay, and again, next week we will have another Team ISO, and we will start doing some other cool things, so you should stay tuned for that. Again, remember, tweet us at Sublime Hockey, go to SublimeHockey.com, and we'll see you all next week.